You know that moment right before something big happens in your life, where everything feels suspended in time. Like the calm before a storm. That's where I was. My name's Emily. I'm 28 years old, and I'm getting married next spring. It's supposed to be the happiest time of my life. Fairy tale romance. The dress. The vows. The love of my life waiting for me at the end of the aisle. And for the most part, yeah, it's been magical. But there's one part of wedding planning no one warned me about. It's not the seating chart, not the in-law drama, not even the cost. It's asking your best friend to be in your wedding, and watching everything fall apart over one decision. And that decision was asking her not to have her service dog in my ceremony or photos. That one sentence, that one request, and I think it may have ended our friendship. I'm telling this story because I honestly don't know anymore if I was the bridezilla, or if something deeper and way more painful is going on. Because now, instead of joy, I'm left with guilt, confusion, and a hollow spot in the place where my friend used to be. So here's the backstory. Let's rewind a bit. I've known Rachel, we'll call her that, for over 8 years. We met in college. She was the kind of person who didn't just enter a room, she filled it. Loud laugh, bigger heart, always first to comfort someone crying in the dorm hallway or crack a joke during finals week. We clicked right away. Study sessions turned into all-nighters, which turned into deep talks at 2 a.m. You know, the kind where you tell someone everything. Your fears, your trauma, your past. That's when I first learned about what Rachel had been through, and why she had PTSD. I won't share details, that's her story. But it was real. It was raw. And watching her heal over the years has been honestly inspiring. Few years ago, she got a service dog, Milo. Milo is a golden retriever, trained specifically to help with Rachel's PTSD symptoms. He's quiet, gentle, always watching her, always alert. And I'll say this up front. I respect what Milo does. I respect why Rachel has him. I've seen the difference. How he helps her ground herself when she's overwhelmed. How he'll nudge her hand when she dissociates. I respect that. Do. But here's the thing no one wants to say out loud. My fiancé and I. We're just not dog people. I know. That already makes us villains in some people's eyes. But it's the truth. It's not about being cruel or cold. We just didn't grow up with dogs, and we're both a little nervous around them. Milo's a good dog, but he's still a dog. He sheds, he slobbers. And more than anything else, we just didn't picture our wedding having animals in it. It's our day, right? Our ceremony, photos, our memories. So when I asked Rachel to be a bridesmaid, it was because I love her. Because she's one of my closest friends. I imagined us drinking champagne together while getting ready, laughing in our robes, holding hands behind the bouquet before I walked down the aisle. But I didn't picture Milo there. And maybe that's where everything started to unravel. I remember the day I told her. We were at a little cafe near her place. I had just asked her to be a bridesmaid. Her eyes lit up. She got this huge grin on her face and immediately started gushing about dresses and colors and matching sashes. Then she said, "Oh my God, Milo can wear a little bow tie. He'll match us perfectly." My stomach dropped. That's when I realized. She assumed Milo would be part of the wedding party. And that was my moment. I could have smiled and nodded and just let it happen. Or I could be honest. So I took a breath. And I told her, "Hey, I just wanted to mention. I think it's totally fine if Milo comes to the venue. But I don't think we're comfortable having him in the ceremony or the photos." I tried to soften it, really. I told her it'd only be a 10 or 15-minute ceremony. That the dog could be close by, maybe with someone holding his leash to the side. I said he could come to the venue, but we just didn't want him in the actual photos or walking down the aisle. I even brought up our photographer, who we'd already talked to about it. She mentioned that, with editing, dogs in formal group shots can be a nightmare, especially if they blink, move, or have reflective eyes. I thought I was being reasonable. I thought I was being kind. But Rachel's face went cold. Completely. She stared at me like I'd slapped her. And then she said, Are you seriously asking me to exclude my service dog? You know I need him, right? This isn't some accessory I chose for the aesthetic. This is a medical necessity. She didn't yell. She didn't need to. Her voice was low. Like I'd betrayed her. I tried to explain. I really did. Rachel, I totally respect what Milo does for you. And I'm not saying he can't come. I just meant maybe he could be nearby during the important parts. Just not in the actual ceremony or the group photos. We want to keep things simple, clean. You know how we feel about dogs and... She cut me off. You're being ableist, she said. You don't get to tell someone how to manage their disability to make your pictures look better. She grabbed her bag, stood up, and walked out. Just like that. I sat there, stunned, coffee still steaming in front of me. People around us were pretending not to listen, but I could feel their eyes. Their judgment. Was I wrong? Had I asked too much? After that day, I didn't hear from her for almost 2 weeks. No texts, no calls, nothing. She didn't decline the bridesmaid offer, but she didn't accept either. Meanwhile, I kept replaying that moment in my head. The expression on her face, her voice, the word ableist echoing again and again. And you know what? I started to doubt everything. I talked to my fiancé. He supported me, said, "It's your wedding. You get to choose who and what is in it. That includes dogs." Talked to my mom. She was more diplomatic, said maybe there's a compromise. Maybe the dog could wear a neutral vest and be at the back during the ceremony. But the thing is, it wasn't about the aesthetics anymore. It was about the meaning. To Rachel I was saying, "You're welcome, but your disability isn't." And that hurt. Get that now. But what was I supposed to do? Was it fair to compromise the one day that's supposed to be about me and my partner? Was I asking her to hide her disability? Or just to keep the dog nearby, out of photos? I couldn't decide. The silence stretched on, until finally I sent her a message. Just a short one. "Hey, miss you. Can we talk?" She replied. But it wasn't what I expected. The message came late at night. A wall of text. Rachel poured it all out. She told me how hurt she was. Oh shuck. How Milo isn't just a dog to her. He's her safety net. Her grounding force. That asking him to be there but not be visible felt like asking her to amputate a part of herself to fit into my picture-perfect day. She told me about the countless times people had made her feel less than because of her trauma, and that she never expected it from me. I read it 3 times, cried by the 3rd. I wrote back, apologized, tried to explain I never meant to erase her or make her feel ashamed, that I just had this vision in my head, and it didn't include dogs and maybe that was selfish. I offered compromises, said Milo could be in photos. He could even stand with her during the ceremony, just off to the side. We'd find a way. But it was too late. Rachel thanked me for the apology, but said she wouldn't be in the wedding. She said it kindly, but she said it with finality. And I haven't heard from her since. The wedding is still happening. The dresses are picked. The venue is booked. Everything's on track. But something feels missing. There's an empty spot in the lineup of bridesmaids. One I haven't filled. One I probably won't, because that spot belonged to Rachel, and no one else can replace her. Do I still believe in boundaries? Do I think I had the right to ask? Technically, yes, but sometimes the impact matters more than the intent. And in trying to protect my vision, I may have broken something far more important. Oh, AITA. I honestly don't know anymore. Maybe I'm just a bride who wanted a dog-free ceremony. Or maybe I asked someone to hide the most vital part of their healing, and I'll have to live with that. What do you think? Was I wrong? Or was this just one of those situations where there was no right answer? If you've ever been part of a wedding or planned one yourself, you know how complicated things can get. But sometimes it's not the table arrangements or the color schemes that cause the deepest cuts. It's the relationships, the ones you thought were unshakable. So if you're listening to this right now, I'll leave you with one question. When it's your big day, how much are you willing to compromise? And what are you willing to lose if you don't?
Some stories start with heartbreak, others with betrayal. But mine starts with a toilet and a very unfortunate surprise. My name is Sarah. I'm 39 years old, and the man I've been married to for 13 years, my partner, my person, has started leaving little gifts in our toilet. Not like flowers or bath bombs. I'm talking poop. And yeah, I get how ridiculous that sounds. Like I'm starring in some dark comedy about marriage falling apart over bathroom etiquette. But I swear to you, this story is not about poop. It's about respect and the weird, messy things couples do when they stop hearing each other. To really understand why this turned into an all-out screaming match that's still echoing through the halls of our house, you have to know a bit about us. My husband and I, let's call him Mike, we've been together since our mid-20s, married for 13 years. That's over a decade of shared bills, holidays, routines, and yes, bathrooms. But it hasn't been all rainbows. In fact, the last couple of years have been rough. Fights that never really ended. Distance we didn't know how to close. And a sort of growing resentment that creeps in when small things keep piling up, unspoken, unsolved. So recently, we started going to couples counseling. It's helped a little. At least it got us talking. But then the poop thing started. It was subtle at first. I'd walk into the bathroom and see it, the toilet bowl unflushed. A leftover number 2 just sitting there. Not every day, not even every week, but it started happening enough to notice. At first, I said nothing. Because hey, maybe he forgot. Maybe he was distracted. The man works long hours. Maybe he was in a rush. Whatever. I cleaned it, flushed, moved on. But when it started happening once, sometimes twice a week, I couldn't ignore it anymore. So one day, as casually as I could, I said, "Hey babe, I've noticed a few times recently you forgot to flush. No big deal, just could you try to remember?" He was apologetic, said he hadn't realized, thanked me for the reminder. Cool, I thought. Problem solved. Reader, the problem was not solved. The second incident, rising tension, disgust, emotional shift. Less than a week later, I go to the bathroom. And there it is. Not poop this time, but a bunch of toilet paper. Absolutely streaked with it. Just sitting there in the bowl like some horror scene I didn't ask to witness. It wasn't a leftover flush. It was recent, fresh, and honestly kind of gross. So I brought it up again, calmly. "Hey, you forgot to flush again." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I guess I did leave some toilet paper in there. Sorry." Now here is where things turned. Because I didn't want him to downplay it. This wasn't a few scraps of clean toilet paper. This was a small pile of poopy toilet paper. So I said, "No, it wasn't just paper. It was poopy toilet paper. Like covered." He didn't like that. He got defensive. I could see it building in his face, jaw clenched, eyes narrowing. Then he snapped, "Do I have to spell it out for you?" I blinked. I guess so. Because no, it's not super obvious why there be poop-covered paper in the toilet with no poop. And I don't like the condescending, aggressive tone you're using. Then came the explanation. He shouted, literally shouted, that sometimes he doesn't feel fully clean after he poops. That his butt gets itchy later in the day. So before he showers, he'll do a second wipe. And that's what I'd walked in on. The second wipe. Look, I'm not out here judging people for cleaning themselves. But dude, if you're going to do a second wipe, flush the evidence. What followed wasn't a conversation. It was a full-on screaming match. He accused me of shaming him, of embarrassing him, of treating him like a child. And I said, "It's not about shame. It's about hygiene. You're a grown adult. You should be wiping properly the first time around." I know I sounded harsh, but I was furious. Because somehow, I had become the villain for wanting a clean bathroom and for daring to point out what was factually poop. He told me I was judgmental, controlling, that I owed him an apology for making a big deal out of nothing. And I said, "I'd be embarrassed if I were you right now. I'm not trying to humiliate you. But yeah, this is embarrassing. You're 39. Wipe your damn ass." We haven't really spoken since that night. He said he was sorry, kind of. But he also said I owed him an apology. For my tone. For my behavior. Then, get this. He told me I need individual therapy. that I'm too reactive and too critical. And maybe I am critical. Maybe I am too reactive sometimes. But when you've been the only one flushing other people's waste, literally and emotionally, for years, you reach a breaking point. I didn't start this fight to be cruel. I didn't say anything out of spite. But now we're in this weird standoff. He's sulking. I'm exhausted. And our couple's therapy sessions feel like a pressure cooker waiting to explode. For the record, we have wet wipes right there next to the toilet with a covered bin for disposal. He just doesn't use them. I don't know why. I've never asked. And now I'm afraid to. Because the truth is, this isn't about just wiping better. It's about trying to be clean, trying to listen, trying to not make your partner feel crazy for pointing out something that's actually happening. I didn't marry Mike because I thought he'd be perfect. But I also didn't think I'd be arguing about second wipe poop piles in the middle of our marriage counseling. This isn't about the toilet. It's about the patterns. How he invalidates things I say, brushes them off, downplays them until I escalate. And then once I'm upset, he gets to say I'm overreacting. It's like I have to scream to be heard. And when I finally do raise my voice, he uses that to discredit the reason I raised it in the first place. I feel unheard. Not just in this fight, but in so many fights before it. And maybe, I could have phrased it better. Maybe instead of, "You should be embarrassed," I should have said, "I feel really frustrated when I'm the one dealing with this mess." But do I owe him an apology for saying what anyone would say? That grown adults should be wiping properly? That the bathroom shouldn't be a minefield? I'm just tired of cleaning up everything. So here I am, asking the internet, am I the asshole for calling out something gross? For not sugarcoating my words when I felt disrespected? For wanting my husband, the man I've built a life with, to just wipe properly, flush the damn toilet, and not make me the enemy for pointing it out? I didn't mean to shame him. I didn't mean to start a war. But somehow, in the middle of poop-streaked toilet paper and couples therapy and 13 years of built-up tension, I feel like I'm the one sitting in the mess. Marriage is full of compromises. But where do we draw the line between being supportive and being taken for granted? What happens when you stop being roommates and start being caretakers? And how many unflushed moments does it take before you realize you're not even mad about the toilet? You're mad because you're tired of not being heard. So, AITA, or just a woman standing in a bathroom begging for a little dignity, let me know, because at this point, I'm starting to wonder if this marriage can even be wiped clean.
You know how some families pass down recipes? Or a favorite storybook? Well, in my family, it's quilts. Quilting isn't just a hobby where I come from, it's part of our identity. A way to show love, a way to celebrate, to grieve, to connect generations. And I've always loved that about us, which is why this next part is so hard to say out loud. Because recently, I asked my friends and family not to gift us any baby quilts or blankets for our first child. And what I thought would be a simple, honest request has now turned into something much bigger and much more painful. I'm 23 years old, and I'm pregnant with our first baby. When we shared the news, both sides of our family were so excited. For my parents, it's their very first grandchild. For my husband's family, it's the fifth, but still a big deal. People were happy, like really happy. But along with all that joy came quilts. Within days of the announcement, I started getting messages, texts, phone calls. People excitedly saying they'd already picked out fabric, that they had patterns ready, that they were making something special for our little one. At first, it was sweet, but then the numbers started growing. 1, then 3, then 5, 15. I kid you not, 15 different people from both sides of the family, all wanting to make baby blankets or quilts. And here's the thing, we already have so many. Between my husband and me, we probably have over 60 blankets and quilts at home right now. 60. Some are handmade by family. Some I made myself. A few are from baby showers we've attended in the past. Others were passed down from grandparents, great-grandparents. I've even got one from my great-aunt with our family's initials stitched into the corner. They're beautiful, each one a piece of someone's time and care. And I love them. But the truth is, we just don't use most of them. They sit in bins or on closet shelves. And even though I want to, I can't bring myself to give them away. Not when I know someone's hands spent hours piecing them together with love. So when I pictured adding 15 more baby quilts to the pile, I panicked a little. So I decided to be proactive. I wanted to have this conversation before we got flooded with gifts we couldn't use. Last week, I brought it up gently to my in-laws. I said something like, "We really appreciate all the love and thought people are putting into this, but we have a lot of quilts already, so we're going to kindly ask friends and family not to gift us baby blankets." That was it. Simple, honest, respectful, or so I thought. Because my mother-in-law, she did not take it well. She called me ungrateful, said I was breaking tradition, that she'd made blankets for all her grandchildren, and that it would be wrong not to make one for this baby too. She looked hurt and angry, and I just stood there stunned. I hadn't expected it to go that badly. But then I thought, okay, maybe it's just her. Maybe my own family will understand. So I called my mom, and nope, same exact reaction.
Tears, guilt.
How could you? I tried explaining, again, that it wasn't about rejecting their love, that we'd just rather have a variety of thoughtful gifts, maybe something other than another blanket. But it didn't matter. To them, it felt like I was rejecting them. And now I'm stuck, because I really, truly didn't mean to offend anyone. I wasn't trying to be cold or demanding. I just know that if we end up with 15 more handmade quilts, I won't be able to appreciate them the way they deserve to be appreciated. And I hate that. I hate the idea of these beautiful gifts sitting in storage and used. I hate the idea of someone pouring hours into something only for it to end up in a drawer. But even more than that, I hate that I've hurt people I love just by trying to set a boundary. And I keep wondering, was I wrong? Was I ungrateful? Was I selfish? Or was I just being honest about what we needed? Even if it wasn't what people wanted to hear, I know this sounds like such a small thing on the surface. But for people like us, who were raised in families where love is stitched, not said, this isn't small. This is legacy. This is culture. And now I feel like I've put a tear in it that I don't know how to mend. All I wanted was to avoid guilt, to avoid waste, to make space for different kinds of love to be expressed. But maybe I did it wrong. Maybe I should have just smiled and said thank you and made room in the closet for a few more. Or maybe, just maybe, we need to start letting love look like other things too. What do you think? Was I wrong for asking? Or was I just the first one brave enough to say, "We love your gifts, but we already have enough"?